Good morning. Today is Tuesday, November 25th. I hope you had a wonderful weekend, and I am here for your forecast for the upcoming week. Using the Folia Arcana Oracle deck and my Out of Hand Revisited. I shared a video on that one. Be sure to go check that one out. Let's just get started. All right. I'm going to use this one for the center card, the overall theme of the week. And we have gossip. Words spread fast. I feel like that's a very appropriate card, especially for as we go into kind of the unofficial kickoff for the holiday season, right? So it seems like there might be some words that are spreading. And so this is kind of the opportunity to keep in mind that what you hear isn't always what is, right? As gossip tends to spread further and faster than the truth always does, right? And also, when we tend to gather with friends and family, we talk. And talking a lot of times is gossip. So let's see what leads to this, right? Contributing factors of the gossip. We have Nine of Wands and the Empress. So it feels like there could be topics of exhaustion and perseverance and things that have really brought us this far, like all the things that are going on, how we have to continue to push through even though there's could be a lot of pain, could be burnout. Like that is leading to having these talks, and the Empress is talking about the world that maybe we want to create or what is going on, or maybe there's a new pregnancy that gets announced in somebody's family. I don't know. I'm not going to be at your dinner table, so I can't tell you what's actually going on. So let's bring in some more. I have the Rider-Waite Redux tiles that we're going to put off to the side to build these conversations up. We've got the Eight of Swords, the Knight of Pentacles, the World, and Death. There's going to be some big conversation topics this week. If you are going to a family dinner or a Friendsgiving or something of that nature, and maybe there's some relatives there that you don't see eye to eye on. I like the quote that I've been seeing around that's like, remember to bring up politics so you know which gifts not to have to buy. But that actually doesn't apply in our life. But anyway, so what's brought us to this point of burnout and exhaustion is this world with this Eight of Swords talking about, there's just so much getting in our own way, being at a standstill on the global scale, on the world scale, and then how that's trickling down into our daily lives. And that could be one of the points of talking and, exacerbating the gossip that's going on, and then going into the juicy bits, I guess, of the week. At the end of the week, we're talking about the Empress. It's like, okay, well, we've already identified what we don't want. How do we go forward? And there could be talks of, I see the Empress with death, and I almost think of like new life has to happen and old ways have to die in order to be able to take us forward. But with that Knight, it's saying it's like the slow process, right? So bringing that to a card reading for the week, how does that play out? It could just be, a lot of talk about current events, or a lot of talk about the events going on in your life. Maybe you're not even paying attention on the global scale, and that's okay, and you're just feeling burnt out at work, or burnt out with all the things that you have to do, or all the things you're thinking about, and then you're trying to create this new part of your future, and you want to talk to your people about it, and you're saying, okay, well, this is what I want to bring in, but this is what I have to let go of, right? I'm going to bring in some Lenormand. The undercurrent, let's see, do I have 3? Yes. The undercurrent is book, ship, and snake. And above, this is kind of like overarching energies. We have tree, fish, and lily. And so when I see those together, I think about, the undercurrent is like all these unknown things coming that need more information from afar. It could be just something that you're waiting on, but there's like something in the way. And the snake tells me that it could be because of like shady dealings that are going on, or maybe there's just been some small obstacles. And it's not that it's not coming, but that could be why there's the root of the gossip, is because when we don't know all the facts, we tend to project, and so you take those little tiny threads of what you do know, and you start to weave your own story, and you start to make up what it could be, and then it could be, you couldn't be further from the truth, right? And so the snake says, maybe it is what it really is, and it's nothing more, and you don't need to attach all these different meanings to it. And then you have, the above energy with that tree, the fish, and the lily is saying gossip helps us to branch out, because it helps us to, like I said, see where we're exhausted and see what we want to create. And that in itself is like, okay, here's my footing, my foundation. I want this for my betterment of my health. And the fish is saying that, we're abundant in it, in these opportunities. And lily is, as long as you have like your virtue intact and, your heart in the right place and all those things, it's overarching, and it's going to help you branch out. It could also be coming from this. I see like maybe there's talks of like an inheritance that's coming in, or what we are inheriting as a generation, what we are leaving to future generations. It just feels like there's going to be nothing left off the table this week. So have fun, buckle up. Maybe even take this as a moment to think before you speak. A lot of us don't do that on the internet anymore. So, have at it, depending on what you want your week to look like. And then I have the 4 corners. Let's see. These are some points to ponder. And we have boundaries. So if you are meeting with family and friends and you are gathering, make sure to shore up your boundaries, keep them intact. Wonder, that in this sense could be, you could see the wonder in the world, or you could just be left with more questions than answers with some conversations and some things that are spreading, And then we have the evil eye. So there's going to be some unseen forces protecting you. Maybe wear those amulets or talismans that really help keep you protected when you are venturing out into the world, and maybe meeting up with people who you don't see all the time. It's hard for me personally, because we don't really celebrate holidays in traditional sense of anything, so I don't have those existential dreads, but I'm not going to discount the fact that maybe there is some, and maybe depending on pay attention to what's leading up to the week, and you can always decide that you just don't want to go, right? And so that in itself is a boundary. But, pay attention to what you're hearing. And then there's always that point of discernment, if it's truth or projection or conjecture or all those things, And then origin. And I see that and I think about, family of origin or your origin story, or, think about that in this sense with those words that are spreading fast. It could be your origin story, and maybe it's time to revisit that and see which parts you want to leave in or out. So it could be a fun week. Exhaustion, getting together with family and friends tends to lead to a lot of fun conversations and maybe births new ideas. So, I don't know what your week is going to look like. No matter what you're doing, if you're traveling or if you're staying home, I hope that you do find moments of peace and happiness amidst everything that's going on in the world. And, I hope the best for you, and I will be here next Tuesday. See you then. Bye.